Good morning.
How are you?
Great and yourself?
I'm good. I hear some It's probably me. I don't know. I hear static
I
in
don't
my
hear
ears.
anything.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe it's just me. I don't know. Look, I'm on a marathon run right now, trying to get it all together. And then I got caught up looking at um, some YouTube videos on a teleprompter that then piqued my whole curiosity. Like, wait a minute, hold up. Y'all done changed the game in the teleprompter world. Had me about to yield that credit card. All right. Good morning. Good morning. So, welcome everybody to our Saturday morning tea, where we typically discuss health information, news, education, certification tips, focusing today on entrepreneurship and the revenue cycle at large. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle and regulatory compliance and education. We're not even going through the 5 steps. If you're interested in knowing about how to become a certified marketable medical coder, check out the link below. Joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect on his name, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have been a nurse for 30 years. And
Three.
in 20,
Oh,
yep. And in 2014, I transitioned away from the bedside into medical coding. And during the pandemic in 2020, I created my company, the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other healthcare practitioners with a clinical background transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
uh-huh. And how is that going?
It's going pretty well.
Good. Okay, and I don't want to be rude. How was your week? I will give some minutes for that. How was your week?
Oh, it was, well, you know how it was hectic
I do know.
with,
I do
with,
know.
with the IT
It's my itch.
situation.
Life's a cinch. And the bombshells that we discover. That's cool. Okay. So, again, before we jump in, remember this is a conversation, it's a dialogue. So not only are we dialoguing with each other, but we're dialoguing with you. And we want you to give your opinions related to the information that we share, your comments, your questions. If you do have a question, make sure you put a Q in front of it so we know that it is actually a question. So for those who are joining us or watching the replay today, ooh, child. Today, we are talking about the LLC and um, beneficial owner information reporting requirements. So we're focusing today primarily on those of us who are entrepreneurs. And I know we have a lot of entrepreneurial practices that have sprouted up. Some as a result of the pandemic, some prior to the pandemic. Well, let me tell you, hold on, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's some information that you may need to know. Um, I do have one quick church announcement. I will put church announcement, even though I won't play the song. I got one quick church announcement. So, you know how we talked about AHEMA changing the recertification rules where you have to get at least 40% of your CEUs from AHEMA versus any other type of organization or program. And I believe you probably heard that first here. Let me just plug me. Well, baby, it's all in these internet streets. Everybody's talking about it. All of the um, uh, component associations. And there's a battle. There's a battle. Shots have been fired. Letters have been sent. Folks are not happy. Folks are really not trying to hear them or have it. Um, they've been battling. I was on a meeting the other day with the component association leadership and AHEMA. and the what are they called? The credentialing department or arm. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but the credentialing arm of AHIMA, and I think he was the VP of that, if I'm not mistaken. Now, they didn't have any of the actual members of that, but he's over that department, and he was there trying to field some questions. And they have a meeting coming up this week where so folks weren't happy. Needless to say, folks weren't happy. People have went back to their state associations, have talked about it. Again, it's all in these internet streets. Folks are talking about it. Folks are unhappy. And a whole letter was drafted to them saying, we don't want this and it needs to stop. And you need to listen to our concerns and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, I don't know about you, but in my email box, I got a whole bunch of emails from AHIMA about this, trying to tell me how it's going to work, trying to tell me what it is, trying to provide the information. So just say the battle lines have been drawn, and it's going to be fun to watch. Mr. Jesse, you got any comments?
My only comment is I mean, an organization can do whatever they choose, but my problem with it is AHIMA does not have a lot of multi-CEU opportunities. Like you have to spend a good amount of money to get 40% of your CEUs from them. Whereas like AAPC, like you can get 8 CEU courses, 10 CEU, 15. It varies. And this one CEU thing is not hitting it.
It's not the
And
jam at all.
and
Because for
unless
the amount, you better pay $50 for a CU, and you need 20, you need 30. Don't have multiple credentials.
exactly.
Now you do get as a member, you do get a total of 10 CEUs per your 2-year cycle. And if you're a premium member, you get 16, I believe it's 16 CEUs per your 2-year cycle. And then if you volunteer, and so there's a whole bunch of other ways that you can get it. But the big thing was, well, primarily the big thing with this whole problem, or the big problem with this whole thing is members don't feel like they were heard, and they weren't. This decision was made on the backs of members, but members weren't at the table. And I think that's primarily the biggest issue that is coming from all of this. And it's supposedly a member led organization. But decisions that have been made of late don't quite feel that way. And so that's where folks are up in arms. And then, they talked about, these were the 3 words that AHIMA used about others, especially the component association education. And I think that's where they have an additional beef, because they provide education, and it helps the component association financially to provide the education that they provide. Oftentimes, they're using the same vendors that AHIMA does. So how can they tell them that their education it doesn't have the same quality, it isn't as rigorous, and it isn't as consistent? And those were the words that they were using. And so that's the other beef that they have with AHIMA. And depending on the type of credentials that you have, oftentimes there aren't any offerings to that credential. And so you're stuck. If AHIMA is not providing it, but you got to get so many of these credentials from AHIMA, why do I need to spend money here on something that I really don't need, when I can actually get what I do need in the education to help further and advance my career over here? And then somebody, like, she went all in on her whole job. Like, if I lose my job because y'all can't give me credentials, we're going to have a problem. In essence, is what she said. So it was quite the meeting. But I know personally the letters have been sent, and I know personally that they have received them. I know personally several states have signed off on that letter. And the one great, I guess, good takeaway that his name was Mike. I know I'm not going to remember. I just remember his first name was Mike. Um, he said that he would definitely present the requests in the meeting that they had to um, the certification board members. And I think the initial ask was, can we at least come to the table? We don't need a middleman to tell somebody else what our thoughts are. We want to hear from them, and we want them to hear from us directly. We don't need somebody else interpreting what it is that was said. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation. And so he is willing to. He was like, I probably can't promise all the board members, but I'll see if I can get one or two to come and have the conversation. So at least that was promising. We'll see where it goes, and I'll keep you all posted. How about that? All right. So today, like I said, I want to talk about. Had you heard about this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm glad somebody did, because I was just in my own little world on Sunday night, I believe, and saw somebody talking, and I was like, well, I wasn't. They didn't hit my ear right, and so I wasn't paying attention to them for real. So then I went somewhere else, and I said, oh, this is a whole thing. And knowing that so many people were told to get LLCs, or advised to get LLCs for their business, made me perk up and say, well, wait a minute. But oftentimes the information or the things that I heard, it sounded like a scare tactic to me. After reading, first of all, you know me, I'm going to go to the source. I need to find information, receipts, documentation, black and white, all of that, and which I did. So there's a small entity compliance guide, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But it was like, well, if you don't do this, you got to pay $5 a day. Or I'm sorry, $500 a day for not being in compliance. La 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 la. And some of that is true, but not the way in which they tried to put it out there. So here we go. Basically, we want to look at LLCs, which are limited liability companies, and provide some information on the beneficial ownership information, or BOI, reporting requirements. So there are requirements for businesses, and technically there are requirements for all businesses, but there are some exceptions to the businesses. Unfortunately, LLCs, well, they could potentially fit in one or two of the exceptions, depending on the type of business that you are. So what happened was, the final rule for the beneficial ownership information reporting requirements came about as a result of the Corporate Transparency Act, or CTA, of 2020. And this introduced significant changes to the landscape of beneficial ownership reporting in the United States. Let me just tell you, because I know we're global and we're all over the world, this is primarily for United States businesses. The final rule, implemented by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, mandates that certain entities, including LLCs, report information about their beneficial owners to FinCEN. And the requirements pretty much state a beneficial owner is any individual who directly or indirectly exercises substantial control over an entity, or owns or controls at least 25% of the ownership interest of an entity. To identify beneficial owners, entity must gather and verify the information for each beneficial owner. They need their full name, their date of birth, their current residential address, any unique identifying number like social security number, passport number, or driver's license number. Again, there are some exceptions from reporting, because there are certain entities that don't have to report, like publicly traded corporations, entities with fewer than 25 members or owners, entities that are wholly owned by other reporting entities. For an LLC, a BOI is a report that provides information about the beneficial owners of the LLC to FinCEN. Also, the report must include the information about the beneficial owners. And so they have to figure out who they are, what's going on, and make those reports. Ensuring compliance with the BOI reporting requirement is crucial for entities to avoid potential penalties and reputational damage. To remain compliant, entities should determine their reporting status based on the CTA and FinCEN's final rule, establish a system for identifying and verifying beneficial ownership information, file the initial and updated BOI reports within the specified deadlines, seek advice or guidance from legal or financial professionals if necessary. So let me share this. So while everybody was talking and everybody was all up in arms, and Mr. Jesse, feel free to jump in whenever. While everybody was all up in arms, I said, okay, y'all talking federal stuff. Y'all talking, what did they say? The Federal Register. As soon as I heard the Federal Register, I was like, okay, I can shut all this down. Let me go out here and find what was going on for real. And so that's when I went out to the government sites to find out what is happening out here in these streets. Okay. Let's see. All right. So this is the small entity compliance guide that they provided for reporting requirements. And so you can get information. For some reason on here, it's not letting me, it's a clickable document, but for some reason it's not clicking when I came up on it, when I posted it or put it in here today. You can find the link to this document actually in the description. So the reporting requirements discussed in this guide are not in effect until January 1, 2024. No reports will be accepted prior to that date, and entities required to report will be able to do so on or after January 1st, 2024. However, they're also given a time, there's a time lag actually, depending on when you started your business. So here's the information when this first came out, which was September, and then they did the revision with the revised language to incorporate the extension of the reporting timeline for reporting companies created on or after January 1st and before January 1st, 2024 and before January 1st, 2025, and then other edits that they made. So in this document, which is very, very comprehensive, it asks you, does your company have to report its beneficial owners? It gives you a whole introduction of what this is, how this came about. And then there are several chapters, there's 6 chapters, and it talks to you about, how do you determine if you are a reporting company, who the beneficiary owners are of your particular company. Do you have to report any company applicants? What specific information does my company need to report? When and how should my company file its initial BOI report? And what if there are any changes to or inaccuracies in reported information? And then there's also a guide and regulation reference page in Appendix A.
Now,
so go ahead.
What I just wanted to jump in and say, I don't understand. I'm not sure, like, if there's, I think a lot of us have been doing that anyway, because I know I did. When I opened up my bank account, I had to fill out this form where they asked, where you had to go through who owns 25% or more, and I had to include my passport number because my driver's license expired, but so I was using my passport. So I had to, provide my passport number and maybe even a copy. And then my LLC was created in 2020, but my registered agent has sent me a letter earlier this year saying that this was going to go into effect and they would provide the necessary, information when the time comes, because you don't have to do it January 1st. Like you
Correct.
have, you have time. So I think a lot of companies or a lot of agencies have already started to do it. And even you have to do something similar to this when you register in SAM, where you have to, where to ask you, does anybody else own 25%, or is your entity owned by another entity? Like, so I'm not understanding how this is all tied in, but they're already doing it. But there clearly has to be a reason. But I know when I did my LLC, I didn't do this. But since this has first started to come about, I've had to do this several times in other places.
Mm-hmm. So if you've been doing any of that type of documentation, or like you said, you got your account and all that, if you've done that recently, it's been a thing. I think this came out in 2022, where they pretty much, so long story short, they're trying to get a handle on folks who are, I heard, money laundering or using businesses in unethical ways, creating businesses that don't necessarily jive with whatever they said the business was for. All of those things. So this is a way to get a better handle on, because from a federal, because when you start your business, you typically go through your state. And we all know, working with Medicaid and Medicare, states and feds don't often communicate well with each other. I think this is another instance of that. So the feds have stepped up with this FinCEN and decided that we need to get a better handle on who owns businesses here in the United States, what's going on. And it's around, like I said, the Corporate Transparency Act, which is determining that folks must file for those BOI reports and further describe what information they must file and who they file. I went to I already have bank accounts from years ago, but I was going to look into opening another bank account under my business, and I swear she gave me a 8-page packet, and I'm like, man, what in the world is this? And so the banking institutions and other institutions are already engaged in this and understand and know either this is coming, or there may be things that they are required to report as well. Even though banking financial institutions are exempt from reporting this information because they are tied to businesses, then they need to make sure their stuff is in order. This documentation all over the board.
But as soon as when you said you had made a statement that triggered something, and I'm like, that makes sense, because you were saying, and it is true, like your LLC is on a state level, and then and there are certain states that people open up LLCs in for different reasons,
like
and
Delaware, and they're not exempt from this. So that's a whole that they mentioned that they're not exempt. This is for all states.
Exactly. Now, because my LLC was created in Delaware, but I did it for tax reasons. But in Wyoming, I want to say it's either Wyoming or Nevada. One of those states, you don't even have to disclose who the members are. So
right. Well, and this now is trumping that. Correct.
Right.
So you do. So if your company was created or registered to do business before January 1st, 2024, you will have until January 1st, 2025 to file that initial BOI report. And reporting companies created or registered after January 1st and before January 1st, 2025, will have 90 calendar days after receiving actual or public notice that their company's creation or registration is effective to file their initial BOI reports. Let's see. And then any companies created or registered on or after January 1st, 2025 will have 30 calendar days from actual or public notice that the company's creation or registration is effective to file their initial BOI report. So they're going back to any company that's in existence and even inactive. That's another thing too. There were some things regarding inactive LLCs as well. So again, you can find this information about the reporting rule and guidance at these websites. I think I also have them linked in the description box as well. But what I liked about this document, which I thought was really, really, like I said, it was supposed to, when I was on my other computer, it would let me link. I don't know what's going on here, but these are linkable or clickable links. So when you go out there, you can click it. It'll take you directly to the chapters. But there's they have this, so how you decide whether or not you need to report. And so they have this crosswalk or decision tree. I'm sorry, that's what it's called, a decision tree to determine whether or not you need to. And so in the US, they ask, is the company a corporation? Is the company a limited liability company? It may be a domestic reporting company. And then they further ask, I said, was this company created by filing a document with a Secretary of State or any similar office under the law of a state or Indian tribe? If yes, again, it may be a reporting company. If it's a corporation, it may be a domestic reporting company. Again, unless otherwise specified, states and Indian tribes have the following meanings in this guide and reporting rules. States means any state of the United States, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, Guam, the United States Virgin Islands, and any other Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States. They want everybody. And then your Indian tribes mean any Indian or Alaska Native tribe, band, nation, pueblo, village, or community that the Secretary of the Interior acknowledges to exist as an Indian tribe. These are there are 23 organizations that are exempt from reporting. Securities reporting issuers, governmental authorities, banks, credit unions, depository institution, holding company, money services business, brokers or dealers in securities, security exchanges, venture capital funds, blah, 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 blah. The tax exempt entity and an inactive entity. And then subsidiaries of certain entities. But this goes into a whole checklist so you can determine whether or not you meet any of those exemptions. So this guide is really, really good for you to go out there and determine. Now, one of the people I saw, they've created businesses just on this. Oh, well, if you give us your email address, then we can go in and have a consultation and determine what your information is free right here. You can go in and do this for yourself. You don't have to pay anybody to do this for you. And so you can go through and determine whether or not you meet any of the exemptions. And it'll tell you in the criteria, like some things will say in any of them. Some of them says you have to meet all 4, etc. So make sure reading is fundamental. So make sure you read the information. What else was there? What happens if my company does not report in the required time frame? There was, let me go. The willful failure to report complete or updated beneficial ownership information to FinCEN, or the willful provision or attempt to provide false or fraudulent beneficial ownership information may result in a civil or criminal penalties, including civil penalties of up to $500 for each day that the violation continues, or criminal penalties, including imprisonment for up to 2 years and or a fine of up to $10,000. Senior officers of an entity that fails to file a required BOI report may be held accountable for that failure. For example, an individual who qualifies as a beneficial owner or a company applicant might refuse to provide information, knowing that a company would not be able to provide complete beneficial ownership information to FinCEN without it. Also, an individual might provide false information to a company, knowing that information is meant to be reported to FinCEN. So again, provides all of the information in this guide. Either breaks down who has control, your senior officers, president, CEO, CFO, COO, any C-suite folk, your decision makers. So again, this is real. I thought this was really comprehensive. It broke everything down. Who are important decision makers? If they are, they're part of the BOI reporting. Then you have what is considered ownership interest. Again, they provide definitions on that. So you know what you need to do. There's actually, I think, there's going to be a portal that you can actually do your filing, and it's not ready, and it won't be ready to take any reporting until January 1, 2024. And again, they have this whole checklist so you can go through and determine for yourself where you are. So I thought this was really important information, especially since a lot of us have LLCs. It says the reporting company is a limited liability company, and they give examples. Individual A is the sole owner and president of the company and makes important decisions for the company. No one else owns or controls ownership interest in the company or exercises substantial control over the company. Individual A is a beneficial owner of the reporting company in two different ways, assuming no other facts. First, individual A exercises substantial control over the company because individual A is a senior officer of the company. Second, individual A is also a beneficial owner because individual A owns 25% or more of the reporting company's ownership interest. Because no one else owns or controls ownership interest in the LLC or exercises substantial control over it, and assuming there are no other relevant facts, individual A is the only beneficial owner of this reporting company, and individual A's information must be reported to FinCEN. So just to let y'all know, this is in the works and coming down the pipe. Let's see what we got. She says, first, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Miss Raspberry. Good morning, Crafty Coder. Good morning, Miss Vicky. She says, right, I've been doing mine each year as well. Or all of those new IRS agents that were hired recently. So this is actually new for this organization. This is the first time that they are gathering this information. So you may have been doing things with your state where you have to maintain your business license to operate or your business filing. But this is new. All of this is new. Yeah. So that's all I have for today. Just to wake folks up because it's a real thing. And I thought this was very comprehensive. You know, I'm always looking to see, well, what did the government put together? But this, and even when, so folks were also advised to put their children into their LLCs as owners or whatever. It gives you information on what to do with your children, because if your children is a minor, then the parent still has to do it. So there's all kinds of things that you technically can't get around reporting unless you meet an exception. Yeah. So again, it wasn't a whole lot, but there is a requirement to report it. This breaks it all down: who can do it, who can't, when you did it, when when your company was created, determines when you actually have to start reporting, so on and so forth, or the length of time that you have in order to report. And I think there was something. Again, this tells you the specific information. Really, is just about the person, the beneficial owner, their full name. For the company, the full name, any trade name or doing business as, the address, all of that. So there's technically two pieces. You have to report the information about the company, and then you have to report for each beneficial owner or company applicant. So those are the two things that you actually have to report to FinCEN. Any questions, concerns? Was this helpful at all to any of the people out here in these LLC streets? I don't want you to get caught up and wondering why y'all now owe the government all kinds of money because nobody told you and didn't do this.
Well, the number one thing is, not to panic because you have time.
You have time. That was the thing. And the things I saw, it was really just the urgency. You got to do it now. Like you know how they do. Oh my God. Your LLC may be costing you $500 a day. And it was like, really? Don't do that. That's not right. That's not right. So don't put people into a panic. Okay. So we have a shortened Saturday morning tea because, as you see, I'm all glammed up. I got to go somewhere today. Actually, I have a women's healthcare brunch, and then I have a funeral to attend to. She's not my granny really, but we always called her Granny. So Granny Ola, who was 90 years old, celebrated 90 years earlier this year, passed away. So I'm going to her funeral as well. So that's going to be a sad occasion. But I still want to come on, provide some information to you all on this, especially with all of the businesses that, we personally know of. I mean, we've had business owners here on the show, folks starting their businesses, healthcare professionals that are going independent and starting their businesses, and most of them doing it under an LLC. As y'all saw, that exemption list did not list healthcare professionals. So make sure you get your paperwork in. Another thing to be compliant with. We already know in the healthcare world, we are a heavily regulated industry. Well, guess what? We got part of this too. So be prepared. Be prepared.
There you go.
There you go. All right. You can't say you didn't hear it over here. We tried to tell you.
That's right.
We tried to tell you. All right. All right. So, well, hopefully the tea was spilled here. Thank you all for joining us. It was great. I had a ball. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button if you received value from this information. We'll be looking for other things. I don't think if any other developments come about. Oh, thank you. If any other developments come about, we will definitely let you know and keep you informed about what is happening. So with that, Mr. Jesse, do you have any final words, any final thoughts? I know you're over the moon and brimming and can't wait to get into the meeting after the meeting, because the meeting after the meeting today, baby, you thought last week was something juicy and special. This week, the juice is just gushing. So I'm so excited. I'm excited. So if you too want to be part of all of the information that we bring, the additional information of value, because we go into depth on a lot of things, be a member of our Patreon, and you too will be part of our meeting after the meeting and get some of the additional juice to go in your tea. How's that? Don't forget. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Especially if you want to take control of your life and get into entrepreneurship. I mean, the information in the meeting after the meeting is unparalleled.
Yes, yes. So again, if this information was valuable for you, help us share this message with others by sharing the video and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube. Did you give me the usher finger?
No. I was.
Oh, I thought I saw the usher finger. Look, I'll be looking for cues. Well, this has been a great session today. Thank you all. We'll have no, we may not have a session next week. I have to double check. We may not. I'll let you know if we don't. But then we'll definitely come back the following week. We will definitely be back, if not next week, the following week. Okay. So this has been a great session. Thank you for joining. And remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.